Hi, welcome. My name is Chandra and I am making some sourdough spelt bread today. I'm also going to show you what's in my basement as far as our pantry and food storage and one of the freezers that we have. The one that's, I think, most interesting, the miscellaneous one. So I am making my favorite kind of bread to make because it's the easiest, I think, because I have the recipe memorized, and there's something about not having to refer to a recipe that makes it feel so much easier to do. So I'm milling a little bit of whole spelt because I like to make it with mostly white spelt and then a little bit of whole spelt. I usually use a little bit of rye also just for the flavor, but I'm out of rye right now. So it's just 100% spelt bread. I use 700 grams white spelt, 300 grams of whole spelt, milled finely, 22 grams of salt. Then I will add a bunch of starter, about 120 grams of that, 650 grams of water, and is that it? Flour, salt, yeast, or starter, water. I go through that in my head every time I make it. Like, I'm not forgetting, I forgot salt once and it really doesn't taste very good. So those are the only ingredients. I'll put that down below as well. That's my nice and active and bubbly starter. I do take it right out of the refrigerator and I'll put it right back in as long as there's enough in there to do something with. If it's been dormant for more than a week, I might feed it the night before or end up with a flatter bread, but the bread's still good, so I would bake anyway, even if it was old. Once I get this fully combined, I will put a lid on it and leave it alone for at least half an hour, but sometimes longer if I have forgotten about it, and that's fine. I'm just waiting for the flour to fully absorb all the water, and which often takes longer with ancient grains or whole grains, and that will make it much easier to handle when I start to stretch it. It looks like I'll be needing to order whole spelt soon as well. I do that in bulk from a group ordering situation. I keep this much up here and then the rest of it is in the basement, which I will show you. It's now been a little bit of time and I'm getting my hands wet so they don't stick to the dough. And it is very easy. I can even do it with one hand. Especially in the beginning, you don't need to be getting wet again. I don't need to protect the surface of the dough very much from breaking the nice surface tension that you want, but in the beginning it's not as important. I just need to get that smoothed out and beginning to ferment, and that's it. Now, half hour to an hour later, I am back to stretch it again, and you'll see it has already started to organize itself so much. It's much more together. In the beginning it's nice and loose and hangs, then the gluten starts to tighten up, and that's when I know it's had enough for now. I didn't show you every stretch I did. I honestly never do the same thing. I never do the same amount of stretching. I just go at it 3 or 4 times, spaced out over most of the day, and then give it 4 hours or so at the end to just rise. But it is very much not a science, and I think with no stretches it would still be really good. The water itself does a lot for gluten development, so you know, it's not something to stress over. Plus, you can always make another loaf another time if this one doesn't come out exactly the way you want it to. These did come out really nicely. So now I am getting ready to shape this into 2 loaves. I use round forms for them. I have one Banneton basket, like the bread making fancy basket, and then I have one small bowl that I use, and I really see no difference in the 2 of those. This bread dough is not as hydrated as regular wheat would be. There's much less water in it, and you need that structure of a stiffer dough to help it hold its shape, because it does not have the same type of gluten or gluten content as regular wheat. It's close, but it's not enough. So having a drier dough does help with keeping some height to it, which is nice to have in a loaf of bread. My baskets have been dusted with rice flour, which is great for not sticking, and I don't worry about it not being fermented as much as a regular flour. Now that these are in their baskets, they are going into the refrigerator for an overnight rest. I have tried leaving them out for a little while, maybe an hour, before putting them into the fridge. Maybe because I usually mix my dough earlier in the day, that ends up being a recipe for overproofing for me. So I put them right in the fridge as soon as they've been shaped and bake them the next morning, or anytime during the next day, really. I have recently started turning them out into my hands like this, which you can do when they're cold from the refrigerator. And then I can get it right into the middle of my pan, into my Dutch oven. And it's so much better than like throwing it against the side, which happens all too often. So that is a huge benefit of that overnight rest, is that you can handle it a little bit more without it being just like all over the place and sticky and droopy. So they're going in, it's at 500 right now. I'll turn it right down to 450. And these will bake for 45 minutes. I leave the lid on the whole time. They still get nice and browned on the top. Thought I would bring you down and show you where we keep our dry, like pantry storage type stuff. So we've got some cabinets here, and we have a shelf here and some buckets here. So I'll show you all of that, and one of the freezers. 2 of them have a project going on, but on top of them, sitting on top of them. But there's just one that has chicken and pork, and there's one that has beef. So I can show you that sometime. All right, here we are at these cabinets, and now the Instant Pot is here. It's a different day. I tried to do this whole part like Vanna White style, but I wasn't in the picture and the sound was terrible. So here we are on a different day, showing you inside here. So this is mostly stuff I've canned, except for some of these tomato things on the top. This is something I canned. That's a green tomato, kind of like a salsa. I'm not really sure what to do with it. It feels like I should make enchiladas, but I don't know. We don't really eat enchiladas, so I'm not sure. Salsa, I buy that by the case. There's some pasta sauce up there. I do like to keep some on hand because it's just nice and quick and easy. I know it's quick to make it too, and I do have that stuff up there, but sometimes it's even quicker to just open a jar. I've got a few beets up here, and that is a rooibos, so uncaffeinated, chai concentrate, and it's canned. So I can just open it up and we have chai. It's good. Okay, then down here in the middle is, on the left, is all jams and jellies. There's cranberry sauce, tomato jelly, I think that'll be good on hamburgers, so we haven't really used it yet though. Pineapples, great for pizza. Apple jam and apple jelly. There's also more apple jelly back here. We had lots of apples this year on my in-laws' trees. This is rhubarb marmalade. Haven't tried that yet. There's a triple berry jam I just made from frozen berries I bought. And there, down here is another jam. Actually, this is a plum, spiced plum jam. There's also some grape up here, grape jam that I made out of grapes that the kids got tired of eating grapes. I still had a lot, so I froze them and eventually made them into jam, and it's been delicious. It's Leo's favorite. Now I've got a few pickles here, jalapenos and a different, not too spicy pickles, peppers from our garden. That's been fun for tacos. And I've got garlic escape pickles here. On the bottom, way more pickles. I had so many cucumbers this year, like I planted too many. But we have a lot of pickles. So these are all dill. These are some leftover that I bought, also capers. More jalapenos, sweet pickles there. There's that jam. I already ran out of zucchini relish, which would usually be right there. I need to make more. We use a lot of that. Applesauce from all those apples, and then a couple I had bought. And that's it for there. Now next bank would be here. And this is a lot of fats and oils, and then also on the top shelf are stocks that I've pressure canned. So I've got beef, chicken, turkey, pork, and pork pho. So we use pork broth mainly for pho. And I realized kind of after I had already done that other pork that I should can it just as with the flavors of pho, and then we can just open it up and have it be ready. Ghee, avocado oil, some tomato soup, cat food. This is backup. I usually use raw that I kind of put together myself with some other ingredients, and this is backup for when I ran out or it's frozen and I need to feed them now. Olive oil, all lard. This is so yellow because that was the fat from the pho that I canned. So it has that bit of flavor as well. Lard, and then also I have leaf lard here, which I really would like to make donuts with. That's supposed to have no flavor of pork, and it's supposed to be the best for making donuts. I've never made donuts, but that would be the way to do it, I think. A little bit of palm oil, a little bit of coconut oil. I buy those in big buckets, but this is all that was left, I think, or maybe I didn't have, maybe I had a little bit too much to put in the buckets and some went in there. And then some alcohol, as well as the alcohol for my vanilla extract is in the back there. I refill my homemade extract. So there you have it. That's everything. And we'll move over to this shelf. So here I have, let's see, on the very top, that Instant Pot is keeping the cats from being able to get up to the mouse traps. So there's an Instant Pot there. Corn chips, 1 box of macaroni and cheese. I'm about to buy a case of that. Then I've got ice cream cones, crackers, and pastas. I just stopped buying, I'm gonna experiment with not buying spaghetti anymore. We use rice pasta mainly. It doesn't seem to absorb the sauce. The sauce just slips around on top of it. So that's why I'm making the einkorn spaghetti tonight. And it's easy to make, so I'm gonna try to switch over. So I will still buy like this kind of pasta, but I'm gonna stop buying the spaghetti, I think. So we'll see how that goes. This is a supplement. Then I've got seaweed for the kids. Coconut aminos, which is like a soy sauce alternative, and then also soy sauce. I try to use the coconut aminos more, but we have some soy sauce to go through before I can really say we're doing that. Then I've got some dressings and mustard, vinegars, fish sauce. There's some sesame oil back in there as well. I got a peanut butter from a discount store, so it's sealed, but there's not the plastic lid. So when I open that, I will move it into a jar. Then I've got some honey. This was also from a discount store, so it was a really good deal, but it's crystallized. Some dried fruit, olives. Back here is some clam juice for making chowder, and Worcestershire, and some curry paste. Rice noodles, rice. Also, we use these vermicelli. So that, and then down here we've got mayonnaise, again, something I buy by the case, and we like the avocado oil, and I loved when they started making these big jars because we use a lot of mayonnaise. Some spices, carob powder, canning lids, and I think I've got something back here. Oh, Epsom salts for baths. Chocolate chips, which we also buy by the case, so there's 2 big jars of that. And speaking of buying by the big bag, I've got a couple of bags here actually that need to get moved into buckets or wait until buckets are emptied to move them in. So here I've got sugar and cane sugar, and this is white spelt, which is pretty much what we use for our all-purpose flour when the whole family is eating it. If it's just the kids, I will use regular wheat flour, which is what we have here, because it's about half the price. And they're okay with it, and it's organic. That's pretty important, I think, for wheat because of the heavy use of glyphosate on it. Popcorn, you wouldn't believe you could go through a whole big 25-pound bag of popcorn, but you can. This is our second one, and I mean, it's not gonna go bad, so. Millet down there. This is an empty palm oil bucket, or coconut oil bucket. And this is palm oil. We use palm oil, mostly use it for frying, but it's also like the shortening you would buy, but it's a better fat. So we use that. Sugar, which is getting low, that's why I have the refill. This is sea salt, fine sea salt. This is kosher salt. Oats and oats. I got a big bag. I think it was on sale. I got a 50-pound bag, so that's 2 buckets. And then this is the remains of my garlic from this past summer, and it's doing really well. It's barely started to sprout at all. I mean, maybe a couple of them, but most of them are really good still. So this way of storing it has worked really well for me. It needs to be really clean. Like, I cut off the roots, I brush off the dirt, and I put it in this big crate so there's lots of air around it. So I think that pretty much, oh, and I'll show you the freezer. I'll show you, this is our beef freezer. This is our chicken and pork freezer, but there's this project going on there, so I'm not gonna get into that. This is our standing freezer, and I use it for fish and odds and ends. So I have a lot of pestos, onion top pestos, or I think there's some basil pestos in here as well. My yeast. Then I have some lard that I froze. I think that this was, I don't think I did it as well. It's a little dark. I don't know. I was worried about it for some reason, so I froze it. Fish stock, butter, some cider also from all the apples we had. I ended up using a juicer and making cider, which I hadn't thought to do before, and that was really fun. Teriyaki sauce I made a whole bunch of, and that doesn't freeze solid, probably because of the sugar content. So that'll be really easy to take out and use for stir fries. Then, oh, that's more teriyaki. It was a really big batch. I keep lunch meats down here. I try to only buy them when they're on the manager's special, which happens a lot. And it just means they're, the date is happening in a couple days, but lunch meat freezes so well. I just stick it in here. So that's the door. Then up top here, I've got my ice cream containers, nuts, some greens from the garden. These are all green beans from the garden, and these are some broccoli stems I use for stir fries. That looks like it needs to be gotten through. Berries for the kids mostly. I have tomatoes from my garden back there. I think I have 3 gallon bags of those. They are cored and seeded and ready to be canned. So that just needs to happen. Pumpkin from my garden, and some soldier beans that I was afraid to can because I had canned some beans before and didn't go well. There's no reason it shouldn't, but I'm afraid now. It's a lot of work to have it go bad. Fish, which we get from a friend who fishes in Alaska. Macaroni and cheese, that's for Joe's lunches when he needs a little supplement from our leftovers. This is the cat food I was talking about. It comes in a big box, kind of like the size of one of these. And it's all these packages of frozen meat. And they love it. And I flush it out with like beef liver from the cows we get that I wish we would want to eat, but we don't. So the cats get it. This is all ground beef that overflow from the cow freezer, which probably could fit in there now, and just a couple things from the previous cow that have to get used up first. So that is everything in there. And sometime, if you're interested, I can show you these other two, maybe when I get a pig. We actually have a pig coming in a couple weeks, so maybe I will show you what that looks like and get it all into that freezer.